So go to chapter 33, supply side policies and government controls. So when we talk about supply side policies, basically we're talking about policies that government put in place to correct or to increase aggregate supply. So these are policies to increase aggregate supply in the economy. And what is the aggregate supply? The total supply in the market is aggregate supply. The total output firms are producing in the economy is aggregate supply. You get the point there, please. Okay. So how do government control this? Let's see. Page 267, are you there? It said, what are supply side policies? Supply side policies are used to help increase aggregate supply in the economy. Aggregate supply is the total amount of goods and services produced in the economy. I said that already. So aggregate supply is okay, yeah. So supply side policies tend to be business friendly and aim to increase economic growth. They can be targeted at the whole economy or at those parts where an obstacle exists that prevents economic growth. In many countries, supply side policies have aimed to, before we go into that, using supply side policy, it means government is trying to increase aggregate supply. And if aggregate supply increases in the economy, that means economic growth will happen because output in that economy has increased. So government will use aggregate supply. Most of the time, government could use this policy in those industries that are pulling the economic growth backward. So government could use aggregate supply in such policy in such industry. And you get the point. For example, if educational industry in this country is not fine, like is causing problems, like it's hindering economic growth, government could use supply side policy to make sure the educational industry is better through maybe training and training the workforce or training the teachers or subsidizing education. Do you understand? So government will use anything possible to ensure that that industry does well. Do you get it? Yeah. So they said in many countries, supply side policies have aimed to one, improve flexibility in labor markets by removing restrictions. So one of the supply side policies one of the aims of using supply side policy is to improve flexibility in the labor markets. So if flexibility is improved, that means if there's flexibility, that means demand for and supply of labor will become easier. So firms will be able to employ workers. Workers will be able to work in any industry. Do you get the point there? Yeah. Do you get it or not? Yes. The second point, restore the incentive to work by lowering taxes on work and enterprise. So people might not want to work in the industry, in the country, based on the fact that maybe taxation is high, income tax is high. So if income tax is high, that's demotivating. It's demotivating for workers, so they don't want to work. So government will reduce income tax to encourage people to work. And when people work, that means there's employed resources. That will increase output. Yes, yeah. It will shift the PPC curve right. Clear, right? Yeah. The third point, promote competition through privatization, deregulation, and helping small firms. So government use supply side policies to increase competition in the market by encouraging more firms to set up in that country. And this could be through privatization. With privatization, that means it increases numbers of firms in the industry. So government establishment, government enterprise are becoming owned now by private investors or private businesses. Mm-hmm. That means more businesses are settling in the country. So government could use the regulation by softening the laws, the regulations in the country, so that new firms can be encouraged to set up. Helping small firms through subsidy. Government could subsidize for small firms. Government could give grants or soft loans to small firms so that they can be able to compete. Yeah. Is it clear? Yeah. Any question about that? No. So go to the impact of supply side policies on productivity and total output. So with supply side policy, what happens with productivity? The first thing is that productivity has to increase. For productivity to increase, government might use supply side policy. How can they use it? Look at what they said here. They wrote, supply side policies generally improve the productivity of production factors. This means that resources are used more effectively and productive potentials of the economy can be increased. A number of supply side policies have attempted to increase labor productivity using the following approaches. So before we go into those approaches used.
So this approach for labor.
Labor productivity, yes. Because if labor productivity increases, productivity is increasing, output increases. So now for labor productivity, it comes with what? The output divided by the total number of workers. Yes. So they want few workers for more output. That is the point. So for this to, it's possible.
Few workers
for more output. Yes, it's possible.
They have to be trained.
Yeah, that is supply side policy. Yes. So training is part of supply side policy. Improving flexibility. The first thing is improving flexibility. The ability to be able to switch from one to another. For you to have, the ability to do different things. That is flexibility. Yes. So you have to say improving flexibility. Many believe that labor markets were too inflexible. For example, trade unions were often criticized by forcing up wages and resisting the introduction of new working practices and new technology. This prevents labor productivity from improving. To deal with this problem, government introduced a range of anti-trade union legislation to weaken unionism. So basically what we're talking about is ways in which workers, employers can suit in to different changes in the market, in the industry. That is what we're talking about here. Their adaptability. Yes. Being able to adapt. It's one of the ways in which productivity can increase. So, training and education. What is training? Training involves acquiring new skills, knowledge that will be useful for the objective of the business. Yes or no? Yeah. Education, acquiring knowledge. Yes or no? Yeah. So, with training and education, if people receive more training and education, they get better. Then they can become, they can do better and they become more motivated to work. Yes or no? Yeah. Do you get the point here? So for training improves motivation. It increases people's motivation to want to do better because they believe they are valued in the organization. And education allows you to know what you don't know before. It gives you the ability to learn, to unlearn, and to relearn. So these things are useful for productivity. Yeah, for output here. So I think that is clear. Now we go to total output.
This graph, I didn't get it, but they only did one question about this PPC graph.
So the PPC graph came out.
Only one question.
About it, what was it?
I can't remember, but I know it's only one question because I prayed to God that they don't bring drawing one because I still didn't get it.
All right, but it's easy. I told you we have. When resources are not fully used, that means a normal growth. When resources are fully used, that means it reaches its potential. There's outward shift. The inward shift is when resources are unemployed.
There's a question still in my head. If the business does not sell the supplies, this is an excess.
If the business does not sell everything,
yes,
it's disequilibrium. Which is it could be excess supply. Yes. Clear. Yeah. So we go to our total output. They say supply side policies aim to increase the productivity potential of the economy. I just talked about the potential here. So with increased volume of output, national income will rise and living standards will be improved. Also, if government can increase supply, there's less chance of demand pull inflation and more jobs will be created. Therefore, unemployment will be lower. So the point here is that the total output has to increase because that is the aim of supply side policy. So if the total output is increasing, the PPC curve will shift outward. And if government is able to reduce, if output is increasing, demand pull inflation might reduce. How? If government can increase supply. So if government can increase, if supply can increase, there won't be need, there won't be excess demand, yes or no? Yeah. So as a result of that, there would not be anything called demand pull inflation. Do you get the point you're making here? So do you get the point, please? Yes. So there's outward shift if resources are fully utilized, resources are employed. Is it clear or not? Please? Yes. Any question about that? No. So go to impact of supply side policies on macroeconomic objectives. Are we there? Yes. Inflation is as a result of increasing demand than supply in the economy. Demand pull inflation. So there's increase in price.
There's more demand than supply.
Yes, there's increase in price because the demand in the economy is higher than the supply.
So if we increase the price, the demand will be less, right?
Yes. If we increase the price, yeah, demand will fall. And there's cost push inflation.
Yes.
That is as a result of increasing cost of production that has led to us increasing, that has led to firms increasing their prices. Shall we move on? So impact of supply side policies. When we talk about impact of supply side policies, what we're talking about is the consequence of using supply side policies. Now let's check to privatization. But before we go into that, I said most governments use supply side policies to increase economic growth. A wide range of supply side measures is available and they can have a variety of effects on the economy. Some examples of the policies used by governments are, and impacts are outlined. Number one, privatization. Many governments have privatized state assets in recent years. Why do they do this? They do this to reduce monopolies and to promote competition. So reasons why government would want to use supply side policy.
To reduce monopoly.
Yes.
Why do they want to reduce monopoly?
Say what?
Why do they want to reduce monopoly?
Yeah, like for example, the government parastatals, what's it called? The General Electric Company of Libya. The General Electric Company of Libya is owned by the government of Libya, yes or no?
Yes.
So government might privatize it to make it become more competitive. So because if it becomes privatized, other businesses, other entrepreneurs would want to invest in the power sector, not electric, in the power sector. Because now it's not only for the government of Libya. So most businesses, most entrepreneurs are not investing in the power sector because the power sector is occupied by the government. So privatization reduces monopolies and increases competition. You get, so government could use supply side policy through privatization to increase competition in the economy and also reduce monopoly. That's the first point. Is it clear? Yes. The second point is deregulation. What is deregulation? Reducing regulations, reducing laws. So when government reduces regulations, what happens? Here we said regulation, often called red tape, involves government controls the market. Deregulation in business generally means tackling problems such as excessive of paperwork. So government will reduce the power instead of you having to bring a lot of things, documentation. Before you are being given the opportunity to start a business, they reduce those documentation. That's the regulation. Obtaining unnecessary licensing, government will reduce that. Having lots of people or committees to approve a decision, government will reduce that. Do you get it? Yeah. Different rules that hinder or discourage you from setting up a business, government will come down with those laws so that encourage you to start up. That is deregulation. Yeah. Do you get the point? So with deregulation, entrepreneurs will have interest in setting up businesses. Is it clear? Yes. Any question about that? So we go to education and training. For education and training, is that if the quality of human capital can be improved, workers will be more productive. Investment by government and firms in education and training will help to improve the quality of human capital. Clearly, if people are educated and are able to develop a range of skills, such as literacy, numeracy, communication analysis, problem solving, evaluation, critical thinking, and language, they are more employable. Improving the skills of the nation's workforce is a key element of supply side policies. Government can help by investing more in schools, universities, and college. So supply side policies also help to improve human capital. Because if human capital is improved, the ability to work becomes easier. Workforce will be able to use their,
you'll be a more skilled employee.
Yeah, I want to use a word there. They will be able to put up their own quota into the economy because they have some things up there. They'll be able to encourage, they'll be able to, I need to use the word there. I'm trying to find the word.
They'll be more skilled.
Yeah. Contribute. They'll be able to contribute their own quota into the economy. Do you get it? Because now they have this ability. When you don't have, you can't give. But what you have, you'll be able to give out. Yes or no? So with more skills, with more knowledge, with more technical know-how, you'll be able to contribute to the economy. So that's why government will always want to try and ensure that there's improvement in training and education. So for government to do this, government could fund educational institutions by subsidizing for education. So if government is doing that, it increases the literacy, it's increasing the workforce in the economy. So they become more educated and they become more trained, more skilled. Then output in that economy will rise. Yes, I think it's there. Yes. Any question about that? Yeah, we go to policies to boost regions with high unemployment. So one of the advantages of supply side policies is that they can be targeted or used selectively. So some regions, some areas, like let's say in Libya, maybe Salman, Tauna, we feel that they have less educated population. So the government could use supply side policy selectively to make sure those areas are also, are able to enjoy high literacy rates so that they can contribute to the economy. That is what they are talking about here. Is it clear, please? Infrastructure spending. We're talking about infrastructure, we're talking about good road network, we're talking about healthcare, we're talking about education too. So when government spends on these things, it attracts foreign investors into the economy. That increases output. Yes or no? Yeah. Good communication, good road network would increase development in the economy. Yes or no? Yeah. So that is the point I'm making here. Any question about that? Lower business taxes to stimulate investment. If corporation tax increases or reduces, businesses will be making more profit. Yes or no? Because they are making more profit, what happens? They can invest more. Isn't it? Yeah. They'll be able to expand because now they have more profit. That's the point they are making here. Is it clear? Lower income taxes to encourage working. Also, government could reduce income tax for income tax. That's taxes on income. So if government reduces that, people would have the motivation to work. To be higher with higher salary. Yeah, the purchasing power will increase. People will have more income, and they want to work. As a result, the production facility curve of the economy will shift outward. Yes. Is it clear? Government controls. So they say, in addition to fiscal policy, monetary policy, and supply side policy, government can use other controls when managing the economy and trying to achieve its macroeconomic objectives. What are those macroeconomic objectives? Low unemployment rate, stability in prices, like stable inflation rates, low inflation rates, economic growth. These are macroeconomic objectives. Yes or no? Yes. So government could use fiscal policy, monetary policy, supply side policy to correct or to control all these things. Okay, here it said, yes, government could use legislation to help protect the environment. Government could use different laws to protect the environment. Government could use fines. Government could impose fines like monetary punishment, that you have to pay a certain amount of money if you're not doing what you're supposed to do right in the economy as a business. If government doesn't use all these policies, consumers becomes vulnerable. That is the point they're making. So we become vulnerable to businesses. Employees become vulnerable to employers. So in these ways, government will be able to protect consumers, be able to protect employees from the hands of the capitalist. Is it clear? Any question about that? So go to the question now. It said, which of the following is a supply side measure designed to help firms to increase investment?
The tax breaks for people who buy shares in business.
Yes, that's the answer. Is it clear or not?
Yes.
The second question said, which of the following measures will help to improve occupational mobility? What is occupational mobility? The ability of individuals to be able to choose, to be able to change or swap from one job to another. As I was a banker, now I'm a teacher. That's occupational mobility.
The training one.
Yes, A. Thank you. So that's the end of that chapter. Chapter 34, right? 33.